All right, now it's time
Right.
to get into
Yeah.
our weekly awards, Jack. So it was a
Yeah.
very interesting week for offenses. We didn't have any like crazy ones. We have a couple that you could definitely pull from. There were some crazy performances for sure, but who do you think had the best offense this past weekend, Jack?
This was tough for me because you could go either way here with Texas Tech and USF. I think
Right,
Texas Tech, based on opponent, you could probably say just because they had more rush yards than Kansas's entire offense, which is still like a crazy stat to me. I can't even believe that's even possible.
right,
I'm probably gonna go USF here, just because North Texas was undefeated going into this. They had some close
right,
calls, but putting up like almost 600 yards total offense, and Byron Brown continuing to have that season that he's having, just that dual threat quarterback, and they just had so much points. 63 points is just an insane number, and they continue to put up so much points this season. It's just so impressive. I think this is one of the best offenses in just in the country in general. They just continually dominated teams, and every year, every game, I think they're kind of in that conversation for best offense. I think it'd be
right.
interesting if they kind of continue this, but yeah, very impressive.
Right. I was certainly thinking about Texas Tech too and had kind of thought about them, but they ended up putting up 14 points in the fourth quarter once the game had already kind of ended, just in like garbage time to pump the score up. And then also you talk about them having more rush yards than Kansas's total yards. That was like the main source of their yards though, because their quarterback only threw for 91 yards and a touchdown.
Right.
So it was a really solid performance for them for sure, but they've done better for sure. And I think you got to give USF their flowers here because that was an astronomical amount of points and on the road. And they had made some key mistakes early, but the way that they were disciplined, the way they fought back in it on the back of their offense, and then eventually some crazy takeaways as well, like 3 interceptions from the North Texas quarterback, insane. So their defense played really well. Uh, Later on, not necessarily early on, but the way they controlled it, the way they fought back, and the way they went down early, and the way that they needed a lot of those points at first. Like Texas Tech, they didn't need those 14 in the fourth, you might say, or
Right.
like whatever it is. And I know like they ended up heavily running up the score, but like there was a point where it didn't even feel like that. Like they scored like was it 21 or 28 points in the span of like 3 minutes of game time?
Yeah.
Ridiculous. So I feel like it's
Insane.
got to be South Florida for sure, Jack.
Right. And one more thing I want to bring up about South Florida. They have 180 points in the past 3 games. 180 points. It's insane how much points they put up, and it's crazy to think like this is just a testament to how good Miami's defense is to hold that team to only 12 points a
Right,
couple weeks ago. Like this is a very high powered. This is maybe one of the best USF teams I've seen this year. I think they're definitely a dark horse for that group of five team in the college football playoff. And I'm
right.
definitely
Yeah,
looking
they got
forward
to
to
be.
that matchup. Yeah, definitely looking forward to that matchup against Memphis in a couple weeks.
Right. It's going to be very interesting. We'll have to see how Byron Brown and that South Florida offense plays because, as we saw against North Texas, it's going to be a very interesting key to victory for them. Then, who do you think was the best upset of this past weekend?
I think there's a couple of ways you could go about this. You could say Northwestern, but they were already on a cliff. Same thing with Pitt. You could go. Let's think. Utah's definitely one. Nebraska's one. But I'm gonna
Right.
go Indiana here, just because of the significance of this win and just how good it is for this program. And to go at Oregon, which is one of the toughest places to play,
Right.
I think I gotta go there just because they hadn't won a game on the road against a top five opponent ever in their history. So I think this is really just so huge for this program. So they're both top 10 teams I know, but I'm gonna go Indiana here.
Right. Here's the thing. I'm going to have to go Indiana as well. And part of it is like, I know it was a top 10 matchup. I know Indiana was number 7 and Oregon was number 3. I know, like, on paper, maybe it's not as impressive, but I mean, you're talking about an Indiana team that has lost the most games in D1 history, 715, astronomical amount of losses. In 125 years, they won the Big Ten twice. The one that they did win back in 1967 is covered in dust. Like they haven't had too much success. They don't win these types of games, and it's just really impressive. Where it's like I know they were number 7, but like nobody was giving them a chance. Like everyone counted them out, and ridiculously amount. I don't know. I don't think you can say in another game a team was counted out the way that Indiana was, or even though they were ranked 7th, people were just like, yeah, but it's Indiana. And I feel like that's the thing with logos, where it's like if Alabama had went in and did that, like the amount of praise they would be getting. So we really need to
Right.
give Indiana their proper due. And even though it was a top 10 matchup going into Oregon the way they did, and just the fact that they weren't given a chance, I didn't give them a chance, admittedly. I was hoping Indiana would play pretty solid. But I'm like, going into Oregon is such a tough ask. We saw what happened when Ohio State went into Oregon. Oregon somehow found a way to win. And then when they played on a neutral site, Oregon got killed by Ohio State. I was like, that's really is a tough place to play. And just the way they were counted out and the way that they were looked at upon by everyone and just disrespected. And they really took that to heart because you saw what they did. And that's why it's so impressive. And especially the way they played, because even the score, they were more indicative that they even should have won more. So Indiana, it's got to be the most impressive. It's the most impressive win of the season, Jack.
I think so for sure. And I know people are going to say, top 10 matchup there. It's not as crazy as like Virginia against Florida State or UCLA
Right.
against Penn State.
Right.
Not as
You can't
crazy.
have
Or
those
you
every
could,
week. Right.
right, exactly. Or like Texas this week against Oklahoma. But I really
Right.
do think that's the best upset this week. And I really wish Washington State had won because that would absolutely be the best upset if they had won this week. Um, so, yeah, that's for sure the best upset of the week. And maybe one of the best surprises this year, I think.
Right. Yeah. And then what do you think was the best defense of the past week?
Boring pick because it's been my pick for the last 3 weeks. And I don't think we've done an awards where I haven't picked Texas A&M, but it's Texas A&M again. They just continue to dominate on all fronts on defense. And Florida did score early with a couple touchdowns, but after Texas A&M really settled into a groove, like you cannot put up anything on them. It's just insane. I don't know how they keep doing it. I mean, Cassius Howell is just an absolute beast on the line there. There's so many times where the announcers are calling his name. It's absolutely insane. Like when he's not in, people are like, "Oh, Howell's not in this play. He's in this play,"
Right.
and he just is an absolute game wrecker. You need like 2 or 3 people every single play to block that guy. He's
Right.
just an absolute monster, and it really makes up for the offense maybe being a little lackluster and really winning these games for Texas A&M. And I think is really the reason why they are the front runner for the SEC. And here's a stat for you. In the last 3 games, Texas A&M has allowed 2 third downs. The last 3 games total,
2 third down conversions.
2 third down conversions. They allowed 0 against Auburn, 1 against Mississippi State, and 1 against Florida. And
Wow.
they just continue to just shut down the rushing attack. 3 straight games where they have not allowed over 100 yards rushing total. So
Right.
it's just, and they just could keep just because they allowed Florida to fumble 4 times. Florida got them back 2 times, but they lost 2 fumbles. So
Right.
just really impressive defense from Texas A&M. What did you think?
Right. Texas A&M, that was a huge weekend for them. And as impressive as that was, I feel like there was another unit of defensive work that performed better than Texas A&M. As much as you want to say Texas A&M played great, and I think they did, I think you got to go with the SEC refs in Georgia and Auburn. The way they defended against Auburn was so spectacular, and just the amount of calls that they did, like they were really thwarting Auburn, and they were really a big reason why Auburn got stuck at that 10-point mark. Like the way those SEC refs were able to defend against Auburn was very impressive this past weekend, Jack, and one of the best defensive jobs of the past week for sure.
Maybe one of the best defensive performances of the year so far. That was just like
It's got
very
to be
surprising to me. Yeah.
Right.
Because I'm like, are they really allowed to do that? But I guess they were
Right.
allowed to do that, and there's still no statement from anyone. But yeah,
Right.
very impressive from them. Very great showing. Really just
Right.
handed handed the Bulldogs the win there. So yeah, great pick there. Really, really glad. Yeah, they got
Right.
some love.
Right. I know. Well, they defended pretty well. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Right. Now, what team do you think responded the best from a loss the previous week, Jack?
Could go here. I think it's got to be Texas, just because of how like kind
Mm.
of putrid the offensive line performed against Florida. I know Florida's got a great run defense and great defense in general, but
Right.
just so impressive for them to bounce back and just take the Red River rivalry. And I know like recently it's really been all Texas in the Red River rivalry. I know like
Right.
when Lincoln Riley was there, he really took it for the most part there, but like Texas has really like taken that as his own. And like it's just a bad time for Mateer to get injured, because I think if he's like completely healthy, I think this is a different game.
Right.
But just so impressive because they just did not look good at all against Florida. So this is just a very good win to really put their season back on track and really like say like, oh, this
Mhm.
season's not over. We can still win this thing and maybe make a push for the playoffs. So yeah,
Right. And that last sentence that you said ties into what my pick is as well. I have to go with USC here. They went on the road at Illinois and lost by a last second field goal. Very unfortunate for them. Got completely kicked out of the rankings. They had a huge game hosting number 15, I believe, at the time, Michigan. Really huge implications where it's like they got to win this game. They just lost to Illinois. You cannot lose back to back games against these Big Ten opponents. And the way they dominated 31-13, Jack. USC responded really
yeah,
well. And now they're up to number 20, like the way that USC dominated, and the fact that Michigan was like at full strength too, and like Justice Haynes, like the way they were able to play against that team with Bryce Underwood. And I know they were at home, but it was so impressive, and they really needed it. And I think that's why it was really so impressive for me, Jack.
absolutely great pick. And really like it's a very important win to really just like say how important Lincoln Riley is to this team and just how good he is at just building offenses and
Right,
constructing teams to really make playoff pushes like these. But this is a very important win, and maybe the most important win of his USC tenure, I think, and
right,
really puts into question like just how good of a coach he is just to switch programs like this and really just say like this Jordan Mayava team is just really going to make a push for the playoff. And I think this next matchup is going to be so good against Notre Dame. I just can't wait for that. And should
right,
have been game day. Should have been game day, but you know the SEC gets the nod there, like they do most weeks.
right,
But yeah, absolutely, that's a great pick.
right, for sure. And then who do you think had the best uniforms of this past week?
This week may be the best week this year for uniforms. There were so many good teams with so many good uniforms. Like for the past few weeks, it's been like pretty easily. Like I know last week you went with Houston and I went with Notre Dame, and but
Right,
there was not like so many variety, so many parity, and so many uniforms that were just so good going from team to team. Like a couple weeks ago when Arizona State won it. But I think this week,
right,
like you had the Oregon Ducks, that was a great uniform. North Texas had the great blackout uniform. Texas Tech, that was great with the black and red. Washington with that black and gold uniform, that's absolutely up there.
right.
Illinois with the all orange look, that's absolutely up there.
The
And
creamsicles. Yep.
Dreamsicles, absolutely. But I'm gonna go with Texas A&M here. I know picking Texas A&M for everything. I'm not like a Texas A&M homer or anything, and I don't like
Sure
I'm
sounds
not
like
like
it.
I'm not biased towards them, but that uniform was like it was like a throwback uniform they used when Menzel was still on the team. And just the stripes on the shoulders and the cream pants. It just works so well in the throwback Adidas logo and just like the throwback Texas A&M logo on the helmet. Like it just works so well. You wouldn't think it works so well on the field. Like I saw it like before the game on like some graphics and stuff, but like that really just is just so clean on the field, and I have to go with that one.
Right. Yeah, that is a very good one. I I have to go with the royal look that Washington did. And
Right.
I know it might be controversial, and there's a lot of great uniforms, of course, but the all black was really solid, and the purple, like on the helmet, was like very accented, and the way they did it, and the way the numbers were like they were black with the gold outline, like, and then the gold numbers, like everything really went together really nicely. And I'm just a sucker for the all blacks, obviously, but then the way that they're able to enunciate that with the defining purple and where they place the purple too, because with the stripes on the sides and then where the gold is, like everything really fits together perfectly. And so those Royal Washington uniforms were the best for me, Jack.
Absolutely. That was definitely like one that I was going to choose for sure. Like as like a close front runner. It was either them or North Texas. North Texas would have had it for me, but like the jersey in general, I think it was just the font didn't
Mm,
mesh as well, and it was a different green than the rest of the green. Like the helmet was
right,
peak, but the rest of the uniform didn't mesh as well for me.
right,
I think Washington's a close number two. Yeah, great pick, great pick.
right. Yeah, I mean, it really was just a great weekend for uniforms. And now we get to an interesting segment that's really fueled by recency bias. So the "What have you done for me lately" segment is like over the past 2 weeks. If you throw out the entire rest of the season, who has had the most impressive and who looks like the best team based on just the past 2 weeks, Jack?
I think you got to go with Alabama here, even with the past 3 weeks, just three straight good SEC opponents. We'll get into the worst bounce back after this one because I know we skipped over that one,
All
but
right.
mhm, but yeah, I think it's got to be Alabama here. Just recently, they just look so good against these great SEC teams, and two of them on the road at two tough places to play, especially with them breaking that streak of Georgia being at home, just winning games since before the pandemic. So very
Right,
impressive. I think I got to go the Crimson Tide here.
right. And as impressive as Indiana's win was, the fact that Alabama not only beat Vanderbilt and silenced them at home right after what they just did to Georgia, but then going on the road at Missouri was so impressive.
Absolutely. Yeah,
All right. Yeah, and then we'll circle back. Who responded the worst after a loss? I mean, there's a lot of good options here.
for sure. I mean, you could say Penn State's won. They're kind of like this is like the Penn State Award, or like you said last week, the Clemson Award.
The
Um,
Clemson Award for sure. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, we maybe we should just rename it that. But I'm gonna go the Seminoles here. Just three straight losses, just not great bounce backs in every one of them. You could kind of excuse the first two because the first one is against a good Who's team, good Cavaliers team there in overtime. Maybe you just looked ahead of them to Miami. They kind of got smoked by Miami, but that comeback late was sort of impressive. Didn't make for a great game, but that was okay. But to lose that close to Pitt was just really what broke this team and kind of put Mike Norvell's coaching job kind of in the air there. So I think I
Right.
got to go Florida State.
Yeah, I don't know. I go Penn State here. I feel like
Okay.
I have because let's kind of break it down. James Franklin is coaching for his job, and he doesn't get it done.
Right.
And you think about how bad it was, not only on top of what last week's was, but to think about how much they had to prove from that game, and to think about like, okay, how are they going to respond? Well, their quarterback's going to get injured, their coach is going to get fired, the team's going to have three losses. Like, I feel like at least Florida State still has a future. At least you can be like, yeah, well, they lost on the road to a tough conference opponent that's ranked, and then they lost to Miami, who's exceptional, and then they just kind of had their maybe you would say their UCLA kind of adjacent loss, even though Penn State wasn't quite at that level of that like bottom of the rankings. But I feel like it's just the desperation for Penn State in this game, especially for James Franklin, and then Drew Aller's out, where it's like at least like Mike Norvell's still there, Castellanos, like at least they still could salvage the season. So I got to say that Penn State came back the worst once again.
Right. Absolutely. Great pick there. And maybe some people are like, why didn't you pick Auburn? It's because didn't deserve to lose, and they should have bounced. They should have been the best bounce back this week, but they got it
Right.
clutched out of their hands by the best defense of the week for you. So
Right.
I think I go Florida State just because both of these teams had such high hopes for the season. Not going out of the off season from Florida State just because last year was kind of a train wreck for Florida State. But after beating Alabama,
Hmm.
this team had such high hopes. I mean, they're a top 10 team for a lot of the season so far. And just
Right.
to say, like, if you were a Florida State fan, and I said before the season, like, oh, you're going to beat Alabama week 1, you're going to kill them, and you're still going to have 3
Right.
losses by week 8. It's like, how is that even possible? How does this team lose the 2 teams that they should be because they were supposed to lose against Miami, but they were home. But I just think like such high hopes for this team, but you really could go either way here.
Right. Well, you could even say that where Florida State was unranked. Like the expectations were there, but like they wouldn't have those placed upon them. They didn't have that pressure. Penn State was number 2. This was the prove it year for James Franklin. Like this was it with all their returning talent. This was the only chance, and that's why
Right.
I as well.
Right. Absolutely. Good pick.
Right. And now I feel like some teams are kind of underrepresented in these types of rankings that we do with the top 25 because a lot of teams get hot late. Maybe some teams end up being better than their record. Maybe some teams end up losing a lot of games early, figure it out, and then look far better. So now this is which team is the best of every amount of losses. So for 7 lost teams, I feel like you got to go with Oregon State here. I feel like there's not much competition. Oregon State dominates in this category. I feel like you got to say that they're the best 7 lost team, Jack.
Right. Category here for the awards week. I like Oregon State. They went to overtime against Houston, almost got their first win. So they're absolutely dominating in this 7 last category, like you said. Really love the Beavers here.
Right. Right. And now for our best 6 lost team, I think you got to go with Sam Houston. You could choose UMass, and I would get it. UMass is a pretty good 6 lost team, being honest, but Sam Houston has come the closest to winning a game. They barely lost to Jacksonville State 27-29, so I got to give the edge to Sam Houston as the best 6 lost school, Jack.
Yeah, absolutely agree. No pushback from me here.
Right. There's not many options for these first couple.
Yeah, the Minutemen really haven't shown much
Hmm.
life. I mean, getting destroyed Missouri recently and then Iowa recently.
Right.
They just are not a good team. I mean, whenever I see bottom 25, they're usually number 1 there. So I can't
Right.
go them. I'm going to go Sam Houston as well.
Right. And then for 5 lost teams, it gets a little dicey. I think Eastern Michigan is a good choice because they've won actually 2 games overall. A lot of the other 5 lost teams have only won one, and they've haven't been too terrible. They scheduled a lot of teams against that are of not their caliber. They lost to Kentucky only by 15, not terrible. They beat Louisiana, who's had some good wins, and they beat Northern Illinois, who is also a 5 lost team, and they barely lost to Buffalo, who's 3-3 on the road, 30-31. So I feel like you got to give Eastern Michigan the edge as the best 5 lost team.
I went Air Force here. They looked better for me throughout the year. Eastern Michigan's a good pick. I'm going to go the Falcons here. They just lost close to UNLV, who is still undefeated. I'm
Right.
going to go Air Force here. It's a close one, though.
Okay. Yeah. As we get further on this, it starts heating up. That's certainly a good pick. But Eastern Michigan has had games where they've won or games where they've barely lost against teams that are solid. I mean, they played Kentucky, an SEC school, and were pretty good. They put up 33 points, or sorry, 23 points against Kentucky. Not terrible. So, yeah, then as we move up to 4 losses, I go UCLA here. Since firing their coaching staff, since getting the right guys in there, Jerry Neuheisel, they look like a completely different team against Penn State and then Michigan State. They look spectacular. I got to go UCLA. They're so electric, and they really kind of figured it out. Sucks they had those early 4 losses, but they look like the best 4 loss team to me.
I'm in agreement with you. I think Tom Skipper is an interim head coach, has really stepped in there. I think he deserves a lot of credit too, not just Jerry Neuheisel. He is a good play caller. but I think they both deserve a lot of credit for how they kind of turned this team around and made Amaliava, Nico, looked like a really like a 5-star quarterback, like he is. So I think you got to go them with 4 losses. I mean, another great performance against Michigan State after dethroning Penn State a couple of weeks ago. So I think you got to go the Bruins here.
Right. Would you consider going Florida at all?
They're absolutely up there. I mean, last week against Texas, that was a very impressive win. This is tough for me. I would recency bias is probably saying we're going with UCLA. I think Florida might be still the better team. I think if they played right now, maybe UCLA is taking that though. So I'm still going to stick with UCLA. But Florida is absolutely in the conversation.
Right. That's a good one. I would agree, but Florida is definitely a good one to throw out there. Then for 3 loss, I don't know if this is controversial or not, but I got to go Kansas here. They did better against Texas Tech than anybody else. They beat UCF by 7. They barely lost to Cincinnati by a field goal, blew out West Virginia, and played close with Missouri at a neutral site. And they blew out an FCS school too, if you want to count that. So Kansas isn't terrible, and a lot of their losses are against good teams. And compared to everyone else who played Texas Tech, they did pretty solid. So I go Kansas as the best 3 loss.
I'm going to go Auburn here. I think if they just have a couple of those calls go their way against Oklahoma, maybe they take that one. And they're not beating Texas A&M. They were lucky to even be that close, but they should have had. They should be a 2-loss team because, again, those refs were just absolutely terrible. I think Auburn's still a good team. Like they really showed how good their defense was in that first half before they got screwed. I got to go Auburn here.
Yeah, that's a good option. Yeah, neither team has any great wins. I'd say. Well, does
Mhm.
Auburn have a road victory against UCF? Didn't think so.
No,
Hmm.
yeah,
Right, and then this is where it starts to get really dicey. Who do you think's the best 2 loss team?
there's a couple places where you could go. You could go Texas. You could go. Mm, it's Notre Dame. I think they just look like they don't have that many great wins, but their performances against Boise State and NC State the past few weeks have just been so good, and
Right,
that's kind of the reason why coach got fired for Arkansas is just how good they were against the Razorbacks. So I'm
right.
gonna go the Fighting Irish here.
I got to go fight an Irish as well. The runner-up last year, and they've only lost to really great teams. So as far as 2 loss teams go, they don't have any huge wins, but I feel like you got to give them the edge for sure.
Right, and there's one more thing I want to say. This just popped into my head about UCLA. Is Nico Amaliava is the reason why 2 coaches got fired. One for playing good is the reason why James Franklin got fired, and one for playing bad. That's the reason why Deshaun Foster got fired. So he's kind of
He's
responsible for both of those guys
almost
losing their
had a
jobs.
time, yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. Yeah,
Right, yeah, that's cool.
yeah,
What do you think is the best 1 loss? I feel like there's a couple ways you could go. I go Alabama for now, but curious what your thoughts were.
right. I know. I kind of totally just non sequitur that, but I think Alabama's definitely one. You could go Missouri. You could go Vanderbilt. LSU is one. Georgia is one. I think Alabama's just so hot right now. I can't pick anyone but them, though. I think you got to go the Crimson Tide. Just how they've been moving these past 3 weeks. And this
Right?
was not what I thought this team would be. They just really got things going. And yeah, this SEC schedule, they absolutely just rolled over. And it just shows like how good this program is that they can just continue with DeBoer like this. I mean, last year was a little sketchy, and the start of this year was really sketchy, just with them
Right?
losing on the road against Vanderbilt and Oklahoma, and then Florida State this year. But he really turned this team around. You got to give a lot of props to DeBoer because early in the year, we're like, oh, he's got grub there from Washington, but can he really turn this thing around and make like interesting, fun play calls like he did with Penix? but
Right.
he absolutely has. I mean, this offense just looks so good, and this whole team is just playing like a whole unit, and just really impressive. Love the Tide right now.
Right, same here. I don't think you can say that there's a quarterback or that there's well, I mean, maybe you could say quarterback. Maybe I didn't misspeak where you say Ty Simpson is playing at the top of his game, and they're just such a hot team right now. And you can't deny their 3-game winning streak against ranked teams that are currently ranked. It's a really good stretch of games for them for sure, Jack.
Absolutely, yeah. hmm
And now, who do you think is the best team to not lose yet? I don't know. It's probably Navy if you think about it.
Navy's one. The Memphis Tigers are one.
Think about
UN
UNLV.
UNLV, that's one. I think I know the AP doesn't agree. It's got to be the Category 5 Hurricanes.
Ooh, that's a good one. The
hmm
category 5, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
probably got to go with them for sure. I mean, they've been
hmm
spectacular. Ohio State's creeping up, though, because that Illinois win, although it was demeaned by what Indiana did to them, still pretty solid. And the way they swallowed Washington and the way Texas is creeping back up in there, you can really start back up that conversation of resume comparison for sure. And with Indiana as well.
Absolutely. And just Miami just looks so dominant against every team they play and just
Right.
kicks teams out. It's insane. They've completely turned it around and just look like the clear favorite for the ACC, but just an absolute favorite for the CFP. I don't really see them misstepping at all. All the hard games they've played so far, they've absolutely dominated. Like teams we thought are still great, like USF, we were just talking about how good they've played their past 3 games.
Right.
They dominated them. Like it wasn't even close. And they dominated Florida State, the Seminoles. Very impressive team.
Right. Definitely. And I mean, who do you think would win in a matchup right now, though? Do you think Ohio State could take on Miami?
Need to make mistakes like they did against the Huskies. And it would need to be at Miami, I think. It would need a lot of stuff to go Miami's way to win that. Just Ohio State just has so many talented athletes and just peak physical form humans.
Right.
And Ryan Day has really showed. I know every year they lose to Michigan, people call for his job. He's a great coach. He deserves to have that job. And Matt Patricia on defense has just looked solid every single game. That's a great addition there.
Right.
And Sayan just continues to show like he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I know he's aided by a great team, but every quarterback that goes to Ohio State is aided by a great team. So I think Ohio State wins that. As much as I want to say Miami, I think it'd be a close game, just how good as Miami has looked. What do you think?
Right. I think very similarly. Miami's really great, but they have had certain areas where they look suspect. Like Notre Dame was able to exploit it in the second half. Miami's just a really tough one to evaluate. I really do like Miami, but Ohio State just looks so complete, and I don't know how they're stopping Ohio State. Jack, but do you think that the Lehigh Mountain Hawks have a claim to be the best undefeated team?
Oh, yes. Mountain Hawks are that's my choice. I switched it now. Yeah.
It's gotta be. Well, they beat Yale 31-13, blew out Penn,
Yeah.
blew out Columbia.
Them
Like they're blowing out Bucknell. They're blowing out powerhouses like Sacred Heart, Jack. Like they're balling.
yeah. It's either the Mountain Hawks or the Midshipmen. I think you gotta go either way there. That's a lot of great
For
undefeated
sure.
teams. Yeah.
Like to see Ohio State take on them.
Right, right. Yeah. They haven't played yet, so I think it'd be close. Yeah.
Right, yeah. I don't know. I mean, Lehigh looks pretty promising though. And they'll
Yeah.
they'll show Ohio State how to play some Patriot League football for sure, Jack.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Complete agreement. Yeah. No pushback from me.
Oh yeah, I would be surprised if you did,
Yeah. hmm
Yeah. And then you got powerhouses like Presbyterian nipping at their heels with being 6-0.